Hi, welcome back to Down and Scaled Replicas. Thank you so much for joining me for part two of what I think is going to end up being a three-part series, really focused on some 1/1000 scale Star Trek related kits that I've been working on. So be sure to click subscribe so you're always up to date on when the latest Workbench update drops. And those two projects I'm working on, one of them includes the 1/1000 scale Federation Class Dreadnought, and I'm starting to get some decals down on this guy. This is my favorite part of any modeling project, is getting decals down on that model. So I'm going to walk through that in this update. And then back on the detail set for the Polar Lights 1/1000 scale USS Enterprise kit, starting to get the plastic parts put together here, getting some primer on them, and then integrating some of these detail parts that I'm working on for the pylons and nacelles. So that's starting to quickly come together, and I'm going to walk through more of those details then in this update as well. And at the very end of the update, I'm going to show you something that I'm working on right now. I'm still not sure how I feel about it, but I'm going to show you some really early 3D printed parts that I have and kind of show you some of the challenges that I'm encountering with that. Anyway, just see what you think about it here. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but just a little bit of a preview of something I'm working on that may eventually become another product that I make available. So in the meantime, there's a lot going on. Let's go ahead and get over to the workbench and get started. My go-to primer is Tamiya's Fine Surface Primer, either the gray or the white. It leaves just a beautiful finish on the parts and does a terrific job prepping those surfaces for paint. So I'm just going to go ahead, go through, get all these surfaces ready to go, and then start laying down some paint. I don't have a genius way of painting Bussard collectors yet at this point. I've tried several different methods. What I'm going to do on this particular model is I'm going to spray a base coat of orange, which I'm putting down right now. And then I'm going to come back with a clear red, and I'm doing sort of a stripe here. I think I've got about 4 or 5 stripes around the circumference of this thing here, and I'm just trying to give it the impression of darker areas contrasting with that orange. After having done that, I'm coming back with a yellow, a very diluted yellow, and just trying to highlight those stripes again, just trying to give it a little bit of variety to make it look like it has all different shades of red and orange and yellow inside the Bussard dome itself. I'm building this particular model as if it's one of the first pilot episode models, so it has that spike in the Bussard dome. I've already spray painted the spike gold. I've just got a little drop of CA glue on the end of that, and I'm locating it into the corresponding hole in the Bussard dome. I'm trying out the new Squadron scale colors set that they have put out for the Star Trek ships, basically. This particular one, I'm using Starship Gray number 2. That's a little bit darker shade of gray. It's not the base hull color, but it's what goes on those dark grills on the pylons that I'm painting right here. Also goes on the impulse deck on the back of the saucer section. There are a number of different shades of gray in with this set, including the shades that go into the recesses on the warp nacelles themselves and all the other details that you have around the Starship. I like the way that the paints are working out myself, so I'll probably be going back and using these paints again on future builds. I think everything is painted now. All the details on the secondary hull, the saucer, as well as the warp nacelles, pylons, etc. So it is time to give this a good gloss coat and go dig out the decals. We'll cover that next time. And now my favorite part of modeling is applying decals, and a decal sheet does indeed come with this kit with markings for the class lead, the USS Federation. Now I'm going to speed things up a little bit here and just show you how these decals go down. I use the micro scale decal system that has, you know, the sol and the set and everything, so I put down a little bit of the micro set first. Place the decal on there. They're just conventional water slide decals there. Just work on adjusting them, and then I'll put a little bit of micro set on top of that. Once I've rolled a soft cotton cloth across the top of the decal, just to work the water out from underneath the decal. Continuing on with the bottom of the saucer section, again, just putting down the microsol first, the decal is on top of that, roll the water out from underneath it, and then I'll get around to putting the microset on top of that just to help those decals really disappear onto the surface of the model. They end up looking really great when it's all said and done. I apologize for the light and dark horizontal bands that you're seeing across the screen here. I didn't realize that I had the camera shutter speed set incorrectly, so I'll get that corrected. Once I get around to the warp nacelles, you can see I'm putting them right next to each other to make sure I've got these pinstripes roughly in the same spot on each one of the 3 warp nacelles. And of course, you know, got to really work on making sure that they're on there straight and everything. But boy, I sure like how that red really jumps out from that decal on those warp nacelles. And then when it's all said and done, here is what the saucer section looks like. Again, those decals really do a great job just disappearing onto the surface of that paint scheme there. Really like how the warp nacelles turned out. A lot of really great color on those. And then of course you've got the bottom decals that you didn't get to see earlier on the secondary hull. There's a stripe across the top, the ship name on the front. Overall, looking really good. Something I've recently started trying is highlighting windows, or painting windows rather, with acrylic inks and a needle applicator. So these are the lower warp nacelle pylons here, and there are some recessed windows on the underside of these pylons. And you can see I'm applying the white ink here with an applicator bottle and a 30 gauge applicator needle. If you look these up online, these are like dental application needles. They use them for applying glue and things like that, but they work out really well for this particular purpose. And I'll go through and I'll do one pass here, and you're going to see that I'm going to go back through and I'm going to touch up as I need to on some of these others here. And then what I typically tend to do is I'll let this dry and I'll come back and I'll touch it up again later. But you can see the final result using both the white and the black ink on these windows. I really like the way that it's turned out. It really makes them pop. And as a matter of fact, I wish I would have done more white and maybe fewer black ones, because I really like the way the white looks. It's a little washed out with the camera here, but boy, I tell you, in person it really looks great. So I really like this method. I'm going to continue using this in the future. All right, one last thing. Come on over here and take a look at something that I've been working on for a while now. And let's just say that the jury is still out on this one. I'm not quite sure what to think about this. It is a series of 1/350th scale shuttlecraft intended to be used with Polar Light's same scale USS Enterprise kit, as well as a few other projects that I'm working on right now. But I'm having issues both with the scale as well as just how to manufacture these things. I'm going to try to get this in frame here, and I'm looking at the bottom of it. This navy gray resin is fantastic for capturing details, but it's just terrible for photographing. So I'm going to try to get some additional light on this. And hopefully you're seeing the support stubs from the 3D printing process on the bottom of this tiny little model. And this is, I'm trying all different orientations for how to print this. I'm trying to preserve some of that detail, which I'm hoping that you may be able to see on the back side of the shuttle, as well as some detail that's on the front. And then, I don't know if you can see the door I've got scribed in there. Boy, I mean, this thing is just really going to be tough to photograph here. But I'm really struggling with how to print this guy. I'll look at another one here, a little bit different orientation. I was more successful with preserving the detail on the bottom. The back end suffered a bit. Got a little bit of the front end there, and I've still got the door on the side there. Hopefully you're seeing some of those details. So I'm struggling with how to actually produce these and preserve the detail then as they are being printed. You can also see that I've got a number of different sizes shown here. The problem is that we have a known scale issue with the shuttlecraft Galileo. So there was an exterior set that was constructed to show the exterior of the shuttlecraft Galileo in the original series, but then there was an interior set that was built for all of the interior scenes. Well, the interior set was larger than the exterior set. So the exterior set would imply a shuttle that is about 21 feet long, I think. And the interior filming set would imply a shuttle that's about 28 feet long. So what I'm showing here is what would actually represent the 28-foot long shuttlecraft here.
Polar Lights produced a 1/32nd scale shuttlecraft Galileo model kit a few years back, and that represents also a 28-foot long shuttlecraft. If one just takes those dimensions and scales it down, this is what you'd arrive at in 1/350 of scale. But unfortunately, if you actually place that little guy inside of the shuttle bay hangar, that's included with the Polar Lights 1/350 scale kit, it's way too big. Unfortunately, it just doesn't look right. What you actually have to do is have to scale it down to what is effectively the 21-foot model of the shuttlecraft Galileo to have something that looks right inside that shuttle bay kit. So that's the issue, is do you stay with the true 1/350 of scale shuttle model, or do you scale it down to about 72% of that size so that it looks right inside the hangar bay? Also, you can see here I have a third scale. This is 1/1000 scale for this shuttle, and it looks great when it prints. But the issue is how to separate it from the printing supports such that you don't destroy, unfortunately, the model kit in the process. You can also see here that I'm working on an Aqua shuttle from the animated series, if you're familiar with a couple of episodes there that had the Aqua shuttle in it. It's much larger than this other standard Class F shuttlecraft, and I'm not quite sure what I'm going to end up doing with it because it's also not going to fit in that hangar bay of the Polar Lights 1/350 scale kit. So like I said, the jury's out on this one. I'm not quite sure where I'm going with this, if I'm going to do true 1/350 scale shuttles or something that's smaller than that just so it looks right inside the hangar bay. But I'm going to continue working on it, continue running test prints here just to see how much of the detail I can capture, even though I have all of those 3D support stubs in there that are going to, destroy some of that detail, unfortunately. I don't know. It's an ongoing project. I thought I might show it to you, just see what you think about it. I'm intrigued, but not sure where I'm going with it. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me for this Workbench update. We'll see you again next time.